Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers! It's the Dallas Cowboys. We are now doing a what if with the Dallas Cowboys. 20 what ifs down, 12 to go. Only 4 have their happy ever after. Kind of dumb, don't you think? The 20% rule? Hate the 20% rule. Regardless of that, let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys started life as a NFL expansion team only because the AFL was bringing a team called the Dallas Texans into their league, the Renegade League. So Dallas quickly made their team. But the worst part about the expansion team is that they were made in such a rush they didn't really have much of an expansion draft, and their roster sucked. Led by former Giants defensive coordinator Tom Landry, the Cowboys looked to win a few games at best, and that would have been the best. But they went 0-11-1 to start their lives in the NFL. That one tie, ironically, against the New York Giants and Tom Landry's former team, Dallas would start out slowly. Landry would not be much of a winning head coach until the late 60s when things started to boil over and they were looking good. The Cowboys almost took down the Green Bay Packers in the first NFL championship game that meant a trip to the Super Bowl as they lost to the Packers in Dallas. Now, this is not the Ice Bowl. The Ice Bowl would happen in Super Bowl before Super Bowl II, like to see who would advance in Super Bowl II to face the Packers, to face the Kansas City Chiefs. No, Oakland Raiders. Excuse me. So the Raiders would face the winner of the Ice Bowl, and it was icy. On New Year's Eve, 1967, the coldest game in NFL history. I know you can probably say, what about the Freezer Bowl between the Chargers and Bengals, from 1982? I don't think it was that cold. You got to remember about how the Earth was and all that. We don't have this global warming crap we're doing now. They never did. They never had that. So anyway, on a cold day in Green Bay, Bart Starr defied logic and decided to go for the winning touchdown, even though if he had missed, the Cowboys would have went to the Super Bowl. But he missed. The Cowboys missed their chance to win the Super Bowl. As Bart Starr gets the Packers to the victory in the Ice Bowl. Cowboys don't fall off the cliff quickly. In 1972, in Super Bowl VI, they actually played the Miami Dolphins. Funny how they crushed the Miami Dolphins, who then won the next 2 Super Bowls. But Dallas beat the Dolphins 24-3 and gave Miami the worst offensive showing by a loser in Super Bowl history, which will now be tied with the 2019 Rams. Dallas even threw Bob Greasy for, what was that, a 31-yard sack or something like that? So anyway, they got it. However, that was actually retribution after the previous year's laugher. Super Bowl V had 9 turnovers in it. And Dallas made a few misplays that should have went their way in them winning the Super Bowl. Unfortunately for them, they didn't win the Super Bowl. The Colts ended up winning the Super Bowl. Even though Chuck Howry, a linebacker with the Cowboys, ended up being the MVP. So anyway, you got yourself that situation. Dallas would then go on to a few Super Bowl attempts in the 70s. They did win the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 12 against the Broncos 28-10, thanks to Roger Staubach, who took the starting job away from Craig Morton in the 1972 playoffs and practically forced Morton to be gone. First to the Giants and then to the Broncos. Ironically, Morton would meet Staubach in the Super Bowl at Super Bowl 12, and boy, howdy, did Denver really suck, and Craig Morton sucked. Dallas had a few chances to win Super Bowls against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but failed miserably, especially Super Bowl X, even though it was a classic with Lynn Swann's ballet-style receiving yards. It would have been much better. It would have been magical. Super Bowl 13 was one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time, and this is like 40 years later, as tons of Hall of Famers came in on both teams. The score was big, 35-31. That's amazing. Two teams going back and forth. Unfortunately, the differential was mostly due to a Jackie Smith missed touchdown catch all alone in the end zone for a touchdown. Kind of ironic 10 years earlier that in a Super Bowl that there's a receiver in the end zone that didn't get the ball. But unlike Jimmy Orr, the ball was thrown to Jackie Smith. Jackie Smith bobbled it. Dallas missed the touchdown. They had to go for a field goal. If they had the touchdown, it would have been 7 points instead of 3 points on that trip. So they probably might have tied the game. It was just unheard of. But Dallas just blew their chance for the Super Bowl. No problem. Dallas thought the 1980s will give us some great moments to get to the Super Bowl somehow. After Super Bowl 13, they had troubles winning games in the playoffs. They had a lot of shockers. The 79 playoffs, they lose to the LA Rams in Texas Stadium. And shockingly, it was not good. Jack Youngblood played with a very broken leg. And with that broken leg, Youngblood led the Rams to the Super Bowl by beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC title game. But the Steelers got their desserts. Then in 1981, Dallas had a chance to win the Super Bowl berth at home against the Philadelphia Eagles, who were just lucky to get a wild card. Wrong-o. The Cowboys shockingly lose to the Eagles. But thankfully, Dallas was happy when the Eagles ended up losing the Super Bowl. After a few more conference championship losses, Dallas was meant to lick their wounds in the mid-'80s. Tom Landry was at the end of his rope. Unfortunately, Dallas had new owners. Jimmy Johnson would be brought in by the new owner, Jerry Jones, Arkansas boy, sweet, big sweet, to clean things up. Of course, that meant Tom Landry would be gone from the Dallas organization. That first Dallas team went 1-15. They had Troy Aikman. They had their own pick, and they picked Aikman from UCLA. Fun fact, Troy Aikman actually went to Oklahoma, but I think he had some problems with Coach Barry Switzer, so he decided to go to UCLA. I think it was Switzer in Oklahoma. Yeah. So he went to UCLA and did pretty well for himself. I doubt he would have been number one in the draft if he didn't say, fuck it, I'm going to UCLA. However, for most people, it wouldn't last long. Dallas's 1-15 mark was terrible. But you got to also remember that in 1989, they actually traded away Herschel Walker for 5 players and 5 draft picks. And Jimmy Johnson easily made the move to put the 5 players he got from the Vikings at the end of the year and trade them for draft picks. He had a bevy of draft picks for 3 years, and the Vikings had Herschel Walker and nothing else. And that's why the Vikings sucked for a few years after that. Dallas would go on to be embarrassed by the Detroit Lions in a playoff game in 1992 for a trip to the NFC title game against the Washington Redskins. However, Dallas bounced back from that. Well, it's an embarrassment because, Detroit doesn't win that many playoff games in their history. So anyway, Dallas pulled one out of the rabbit's hat, got to the Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills, who were coming back for their 3rd straight attempt. But unfortunately, Buffalo should have stayed home. They lost 52-17. Troy Aikman was fantastic. The defense was fantastic. Leon Lett, not so much. Leon Lett would also be involved in a famous misplay on Thanksgiving Day that gave Miami the football game. However, strange as it sounds, that actually made Dallas a little bit stronger and made Miami weaker. The weaker part was because Miami, that was the weird part, because that was the last time Miami would win a football game. They lost the last 5 in a row. Yeah, they lost 5 in a row. They were 9-2. They had a chance to go to the playoffs. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. But they ended up losing 5 games in a row, and they lost out narrowly. Dallas, in fact, Even though they lost that game, they needed to win a winner-take-all game at Giants Stadium the final weekend against the Giants. The winner would get the number one seed and the AFC East title. With Emmitt Smith having shoulder problems, you would know it by his performance. And Dallas kicked the winning field goal in overtime. Dallas would go on to beat the Buffalo Bills not in overtime. What am I thinking? In another Super Bowl. So Dallas got back to back. Well, Buffalo got back to back pains. Dallas and San Francisco would be the quintessential rivalry of the 1990s. Dallas did get back to the Super Bowl after missing their chance to go for a three-peat in '95. That is not the team I decided to put for my what if. What if Dallas took down San Francisco in '95 and faced the San Diego Chargers? I think they would have won. Dallas then won Super Bowl 30 thanks to 3 Larry Brown interceptions. None for touchdowns, though. And Larry Brown bolted for Oakland because he was a free agent. Dallas also had problems. Jerry Johnson couldn't have favor with Jerry Jones, so he left. Barry Switzer came in. Didn't do that much. So anyway, Dallas was in a state of panic. Their December record from 1996 to 2010 would tell you everything. Dallas, unfortunately, would not get to another Super Bowl after 1996. They had some close shaves. One team, I believe it was 06 or 07. Yeah, I think it was the 2007 Cowboys. Actually, were 13-3. They had fun in the sun. Tony Romo had some problems with Jessica Simpson. The fans were not happy. So, unfortunately, Tio and Romo sucked as the Giants demolished the Cowboys in the divisional round. And then, of course, the Giants then went on to win that Super Bowl against the Patriots. Ook. Dallas has been known for their flash-in-the-pan money laundering, especially a new stadium, AT&T Stadium. But with no major playoff success and all that. They were close, though, in one divisional round when Dez Bryant was supposed to have scored the go-ahead touchdown against Green Bay, but they found out that he didn't carry the ball through and bobbled it. Incomplete pass. Boy, Dallas is starting out strong this year, I guess. So anyway, we got ourselves a what if. And this time, let's go with the 1981 Dallas Cowboys. You'll be thinking, what the heck were they known for? 81-82, if you will. Well, because those Cowboys played in one of the most important games in history, NFL history, mind you, the 1982 NFC Championship game between the Cowboys and the 49ers at Candlestick Park in San Francisco. The great Vin Scully calling the game for CBS with Hank Stram, the number 2 guy, Jack Buck, calling it for CBS Radio. It was amazing to see some great names and all that. Now, all San Francisco Niner fans know about the catch. Dwight Clark's big leaping catch at the back of the end zone for a touchdown from Montana. What people forget about that game is that despite that being a big touchdown with 35 seconds left, the Cowboys did not quit. The Cowboys still had a chance to go down the field for a field goal. They were only down by a point. And lo and behold, there was a couple of key runs. They got all the way to the center field logo, and then they ended up funneling the ball away. So Dallas had a chance to kick the winning field goal. And this is where we'll set up this what if. This what if is a simple what if. In that the Dallas Cowboys would somehow, in some way, win the trip to the Super Bowl. So they would take on the 1981 Cincinnati Bengals. So, with that in mind, so we got ourselves the Bengals and the Cowboys at the Super Bowl at the Silver Dome. I do remember that stadium. Both teams were 12-4. That was amazing. Danny White, Tony Dorsett, Drew Pearson, Tony Hill, Billy Joe Dupree. What happened? this happened. That's right, the Dallas Cowboys. But yeah, we avoid the catch. But they didn't get the catch. They lose the game 27-17 as the Bengals and Stars, Cowboys. Jim Breach kicked a 42-yard field goal. Raphael Septien kicked the field goal. Then Breach a field goal. Danny White to Ron Springs, 10-6, Dallas at the half. Third quarter, Archie Griffin, two-time Heisman winner from Kenny Anderson, 13-10. The Bengals would then make another touchdown. Anderson to Dan Ross, 20-10. Drew Pearson got a touchdown catch, but then a few minutes later, Pete Johnson ran for a touchdown. Game over. Kenny Anderson is the MVP, and since he gets their Super Bowl. Pete Johnson does decently running. Tony Dorsett, 94 yards. That's good. Tony Hill, 100-plus yards receiving. I don't know why they put Glenn Carano in. Right, 2 for 3, 15 yards. Anderson, 16 for 22, 238, 2 touchdowns. Danny White, 19 for 34, 254, 2 touchdowns. Great battle. But it's a battle of missed field goals. Jim Breach ended up missing 2 field goals, 38 and 43, and he made a 47-yarder. That's amazing. It could have been a whole lot freaking worse, but it wasn't. It sure wasn't. And sorry, Cowboys fans. You lose. Good day. You're out.